The US government has been sponsoring Boko Haram in Nigeria through the USAID. Now, let me explain. I will need your total attention because we have a lot of evidence, a lot of things to analyze, so you need to pay attention this time around. Let's go. If you can remember, a few weeks ago, Donald Trump suspended US aid to many countries, including Africa and Nigeria. Upon further investigation, it was revealed that the US aid is not only doing humanitarian jobs, but also funding terrorism in many countries, including Nigeria. What is meant for international development? As the name implied, United States Agency for International Development, the USAID, was supposed to help other developing countries stand or develop. It was now being used to sponsor terrorism in places like Afghanistan. Let's just focus on Nigeria. In Nigeria, was used to fund Boko Haram in Nigeria. Now let's dive in. How did they successfully do that? All this played out very well before the 2015 general election in Nigeria. Before the 2015 general election, we all saw how insecurity was high in Nigeria, which resulted to the bring back our girls, the Chibok girls that was kidnapped from school. If most of you can remember, the Chibok girls kidnapped was the highest or has been the highest insecurity that Nigeria has ever experienced, which raised a lot of awareness internationally all over the world. Everybody carried that placard called "Bring Back Our Girls," which made Jonathan look like one of the worst presidents any country has ever seen. Well, behind that bad picture that Jonathan was carrying was the US aid funding that Boko Haram. And you can hear this when Jonathan said it then, because Jonathan knew that insecurity was not normal. It was sponsored by the external bodies, because if not, how were they able to survive in the forest? How do they get their arms? How do they get their food? How do they get medication? Now, listen to what Jonathan said then.
There is a lot of politics about issue of weapons. Some of these weapons, especially sophisticated weapons, the technology belongs to one country. The weapons may be physically manufactured in another country, but for you to get it, you need to clear from the parent country.
In case you're asking that, how did this information come public now? The United States Congress said it recently in a Congress meeting. And listen to this.
Because your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, Boko Haram, Boko Haram, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. It is not. You are funding terrorism, and it's coming through USAID. And it's not just Afghanistan.
Now, remember when Donald Trump won election that I said that Donald Trump election will reveal a lot of secrets of what is happening in many countries, especially Nigeria. Now, if you're asking the question that what will America benefit in the misfortune of falling of Nigeria? Now, if you don't know, Nigeria is one of the biggest countries in Africa, with the largest economy, larger resources, and all that. From 2010 to 2015, Nigeria was operating almost the highest economy in Africa. The Nigerian GDP was growing so high, almost competing with China, India, getting to the level of challenging America. So America saw this as a threat, as a country that wants to maintain world power. No country should ever challenge them, not even the one from Africa. So how do you stop them from growing? By creating insecurity. And how do you create that insecurity that they don't understand? Offer them aids. Now, do you know why our leaders will not recognize that? They will not recognize because of their greediness. So they front them money. They don't know what is behind that money that they are giving to them. Do you understand? Now, if you're asking, how are they able to carry out those things successfully? They were able to carry out those atrocities through NGO, non-governmental organization. So this is it. They created insecurity. In a way to make sure the insecurity continues, they have to keep funding those terrorists. And how do they fund them? They come in as NGOs, non-governmental organization. And guess what? African countries, they like NGOs, they like free money. So through the USA, they offer aids to Africa, especially those that has been affected by that insecurity. So when they come, they say they want to help those villagers or those people that has been affected by those insecurity. They come through NGO, non-governmental organization. They bring in those things. They don't give it to those villagers. They take those things to those terrorists. They give them food, give them money, give them arms to make sure that that insecurity continues in a way to keep Nigeria down. down. Now you can hear this from Chief Defense Officer of Nigeria, the encounter they've had with NGOs in Nigeria. Listen.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things I had. Initially, when the NGOs came in, when we started, they didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that.
Now, not just that, Buhari also said something similar. Now, Buhari was used as a tool. They needed Jonathan out by all means. Jonathan needed to leave the seat so that they bring somebody they can use to crumble Nigeria economy. And what do? They funded Buhari's campaign. They funded Buhari's election. See, American government did everything to make sure Buhari's enter. And why did they need Buhari? They needed somebody Nigerians could trust because Buhari had military background. Oh, he was a dictator. He was this. That is why during 2015 general election, everybody, oh, Buhari, changes here, changes here. Everybody believed that Buhari was going to be the savior. But what happened when Buhari entered? Did insecurity stop? No, it worsened. In fact, Nigeria economy crashed more. Even the Buhari himself was later confused and he said this.
And I suspect international group that want to destroy Nigeria. Otherwise, how can Boko Haram come and stop us from prospecting and development petroleum in Lake Chad Basin? But we have managed to show Nigeria and the rest of the world that coal mining, we have so many billions of crude oil and gas.
Don't also forget that for the first time in history, Barack Obama, who was the president of America then, sent a direct message to Nigerians to vote for change. Tell me, what is his business with Nigeria election? What actually? What is the relationship?
Boko Haram, a brutal terrorist group that kills innocent men, women, and children, must be stopped. Hundreds of kidnapped children deserve to be returned to their families. Nigerians who have been forced to flee deserve to return to their homes. Boko Haram wants to destroy Nigeria and all that you have built. By casting your ballot, you can help secure your nation's progress.
Now, Jonathan was painted the bad guy. Jonathan saw all this, but he never wanted to fight back because the collateral damage would have been worse. I know a lot of people have said he should have fought, he should have stayed. Maybe if Jonathan had fought back, you and I might not have been here today because the people that Jonathan would have fought wouldn't just be the terrorists in the bush. It would have been those sponsoring the terrorists.
Immediately the Chibok issue came up, we expect Nigerians to be concerned. How do we get these girls out? Within a couple of days, we saw people going to the US with Bring Back Our Girls placards. How? Why? And of course, the Mrs. Obama received one of those placards. I cannot take responsibility for the abduction. I don't control Boko Haram. They are criminals. Let me admit that, yes, maybe they do their best, but their best was not good enough for us to recover the girls.
Remember, during the time of that Boko Haram was very high. How many of you remember that America refused to sell weapons to Nigeria? Nigeria were not able to purchase weapons. Nigeria was facing a very high terrorist attack going on. The terrorists had more weapons than the Nigerian army. So when Nigeria approached America to buy those weapons, guess what? America refused to sell to Nigerian government. So there was no way Nigeria would have won that fight against Boko Haram. Many reputable names in Nigeria knew what was happening. Many people knew, but they could not speak up. People that talked about it then was people like Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu said it in 2020 that there's no way the Nigerian army can win Boko Haram because the people sponsoring Boko Haram are bigger than the Nigerian government itself. Even a newspaper published it in 2015 when the now this our vice president Kani Shatima said it then that they all contributed in creating Boko Haram, which is now our problem. Now, here's the thing. Since the American current president, Donald Trump, banned or stopped the funding of USAID, how many times have you heard the Boko Haram attack? Because, of course, the funding has been cut. So, there's no longer resources for them to continue carrying out their attack or carrying out their activity. When you cut the tree from its roots, it will automatically die. So how do you blame the Nigerian government or politicians in this? You blame them because of their greediness. It was their greediness and selfishness that made them to fall victim of being used as a tool to destroy their own economy. Do you know how many lives that the Boko Haram destroyed in Nigeria? Do you know how many farms? Do you know what Nigeria went through because of Boko Haram? Funding them because our economy was growing. Do you know what Nigeria went through? This whole thing should not go unnoticed. Thank God for Donald Trump and Elon Musk for discovering the atrocity that the USAID has committed in Africa, especially Nigeria, by funding terrorism in the name of funding for AIDS. Because think about it, how many humanitarian resources has actually gotten to you if not paying? Barack Obama heavily influenced the 2015 general election that brought us to where we are today. So Nigerians, I implore you, let's come together and build our country by ourselves. Let's open our eyes. Let us not allow those hungry, selfish, and blind politicians in power lead us into destruction. We must all take responsibility of our country, irrespective of our ethnicity or our diversity or maybe our tribe. Nigeria is our own. No matter the tribe you come from in Nigeria, the insecurity knows no tribe. Hunger knows no tribe. Destruction knows no tribe. It attacks anybody. Nigeria has been through a lot since 2015 till now, and we cannot continue to go through this again. We must put a stop to this and grow our economy. Nigeria have the capacity to compete with America. We have all it takes. We have human resources. We have mineral resources. We have all it takes. We have the best brain. But what we don't have is the best politicians. But we can start now to build that. The future have nothing but brightness for us. Let's do this, Nigerians. All you can do now is to make sure this video goes around the country. Share it widely. Let everybody hear the truth.
ABC Nigeria.